To what level can we take control of our life?
You have to have kind of an honest conversation with yourself. Our human nature is to go for the easiest solution that will provide the biggest bang for our buck. It's like, okay, yes, we can see a set of data that says this week, like you got laid off, that, okay, maybe it feels like you're not successful. It feels like you're a failure, like you lost, okay? Okay, that piece of data, sure. But I got 10 other data sets here from your life that says you're a winner.
Yeah. I want the audience to get this, folks. Our primal question becomes the thing that we put on everybody else. And yet it's so wild. I have goosebumps right now, Mike.
Our greatest need that we have is the thing that we also give away and want to meet in other people.
Holy smokes. If you aren't rewinding that and writing that down, you've missed the whole point of this. Hey folks, I'm excited to share a conversation with a longtime friend of mine, Mike Foster. He's known as the Mr. Rogers of self-development. And what we're going to talk about today is for anybody who feels like you don't have a lot of control over your emotions, control over your future. I think this is going to simplify and give you great clarity so that you can actually take control. It is possible, and this conversation is going to show you how. I want to ask, is it possible in a world where I think we increasingly feel a lack of control? You know, we see in the news every day, anxiety spiking. It's like a new study coming out all the time, and so much fear in our world from so many different angles and bad players. Is it possible? And if so, to what level can we take control of our life?
Well, I actually believe it is absolutely possible, but absolutely impossible if we don't understand why we do what we do.
Yeah.
And that's really what my work is all about, Ken, is just helping people look much deeper at the core drivers of our behaviors, our decisions, our beliefs. And we have to honestly ask ourselves, like, is this serving me? Is the life that I'm in serving me well? Is this creating the outcomes that I want? But we actually are very powerful people. And, you know, I get to work with all kinds of leaders and individuals. And part of my work is just reminding them how capable and powerful they are. As so many of us, I think, because of the fear, because of the things we see in society, we just forget. We just don't see. We forget that we can make choices, that we have the resources or the abilities or the gifts to change our lives if we want to.
Is it fair, is it accurate, or wildly inaccurate to say that the things we try to do to take control of our lives are largely ineffective and wildly frustrating at times?
Yeah, because I think most of us are looking for a shortcut. We want something that's easy. We want something that doesn't require any type of sacrifice. And again, these are big blanket statements that I'm making here, but certainly our human nature is to go for the easiest solution that will provide the biggest bang for our buck. And the reality is those easy solutions, sometimes they're very effective, or at least they can be a step to getting us to a more profound solution for our life. But, you know, it does take discipline, sacrifice. It takes awareness. It takes community and accountability. And so, I mean, these are all the things that you talk about all the time. And so let us never just sort of resign to the fact that we could never change, no matter what our trauma looks like, no matter what our past looks like, no matter what kind of family we grew up in. That's just not the way that I see the world. That's actually a very hopeless sort of point of view, right? Yeah. So I'm a man of hope. I believe in people and their goodness and their ability to get what they want if they're willing to make the changes and make the sacrifices.
I want to quickly go through the primal questions, and Mike's got a great assessment that we're going to make sure in the show notes and that you get, because I want you to take it, because it's so profound. It's like a mirror. The primal questions are, remember, these are needs. And so Mike has identified these needs and he's got the questions, and I'm going to turn it on you really quick. The questions are, am I safe? Am I secure? Yes. Am I loved? Am I wanted? Am I successful? And am I good enough? And do I have a purpose? Let's just take one of the primal questions. Am I successful? Because we have an audience here that wants to grow professionally. They want to make their mark in the world of work because they see purpose attached to work. Okay.
Yes.
And let's go back to our last question. And I just want you to frame it up for us. Some of the things that we do wrong in trying to get control, and we chase it, we try it, whatever. What do you see in just, if we just pick that one primal question and then frame it in the world of work, we're trying to get control, right? And, and we're running into that frustration because we're not getting to the root, which we're going to get there, folks. Paint that picture, Mike. What do we do that's not working there?
Well, first off, we don't recognize that question is driving our lives. Number one,
right?
There is just a lack of awareness of how important us being successful is to our core emotional need that we have as a human being. Now, again, the research that I've done around the primal questions is we have in our early childhood an imprint. There's an emotional need that we have. And there's 7 different ones. And so for the individual that is carrying the question of, am I successful into their adult lives, it gets printed early on. There's been some confusion around what success actually looks like.
How early?
What it actually
How
is.
early, Mike, would you say?
It's 7, 8, 9 years old is typically where it's getting entrenched. But as in when we're kids, little guys, we're just like human sponges, Ken, and we're just absorbing all kinds of information about the world, trying to understand the world and love and security and success and purpose. And what happens is a person who grows up in a very competitive family, a family that kept score. I describe it like this. I have a client who, when he won on the Little League field, he pitched well. He would get in the car with his dad, and his dad would be really talkative and excited, and there'd be lots of good energy on the ride home.
Yeah.
But when he pitched poorly and the team lost, dad was quiet in the car. And so again, dad's not doing anything necessarily wrong or evil or horrible here, but there's some confusion about winning. There's some confusion about success that this child is now trying to process. And unfortunately, as we bring a lot of that sort of kid logic, those kid experiences, our beliefs that got formulated in our early childhood into our adult life. And so what happens is we get really upside down about our understanding of success. And so we're trying to be successful. We're trying to get a yes to that primal question. Yes, Ken, you're successful. Or yes, Mike, you're successful. But we're going about it in a way that is not healthy, that isn't serving us well, that is actually taking these kid logic strategies that we've used our entire life to try to be successful, or applying it to adult problems. And so what I help people do is, number one, understand what's driving them. Understand that, and by the way, a lot of us look at success as like, oh, that's kind of a ugly thing, a dirty. We don't want to be successful. We want to kind of like not be too successful. And so there's a lot of judgment around success, instead of just embracing the fact that success is really important to us, and we want to win and we want to succeed. But how do we do that in a healthy way? And so really what I help people do is make a shift from asking the question, am I successful, to living in what I call the primal truth, where we turn the question into a statement, I am successful. And then we make our choices. See, most of us are kind of living in this emotionally dysregulated place where we're just kind of this compulsive scramble to try to be successful, and we don't even realize we already are.
Yeah. Okay. There's a lot here. There's so much here. So 7 and 8, 9, this is from the research. But but it is also possible, I'm assuming, that from that point on, that message is getting validated or added to. So it doesn't have to necessarily happen in that time, but that's when it begins to get shaped.
Absolutely.
And would you say for the people who have this specific thing, because I absolutely believe this is mine. Yeah, I mean, and by the way, it's not limited to that because I want people to go get the book. We don't have time to do the book justice, so we're going to dive deep here because this is a theme here. So we're not leaving that alone, but I look at, am I successful? I looked at it, Mike, and I was like, okay, I'm looking at these and I go, man, I think that am I successful drives a lot of the other ones.
Uh-huh.
And so here's what's interesting. So my dad played college baseball.
Yeah.
Small college.
Here comes the family imprint, but go ahead.
Hyper competitive.
Yes. Uh-huh.
You might as well have been describing my story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have recollections of that quiet car drive, but I do have recollections of my dad going, hey, you could have done, like he was coaching me in the car. In other words, constructive criticism, yeah? Now,
Yes.
very encouraging too.
Uh-huh.
But when you said the scoreboard in life, that was very much present for me. And you look at any personality test, whether it's DISC or Ian, there I'm getting ready to give my profile, Myers-Briggs or Enneagram, it's very clear that I'm very, very performance focused. You know this. You've seen me probably in some raw moments where I care too much about that. We've known each other a long time. I absolutely get so much validation from a scoreboard. So being vulnerable and honest for our audience, to back to you on this, I appreciate what you say about turning that question into the statement, I am successful. But I think before we get there, and I want to come back to that, before we get there, I'm sitting there going, if I'm out trying to validate that I'm successful, what are some red flags or yellow flags that I, if that's my primal question, and I really believe, I mean, I think it's a really core one for me. What do I need to be careful for in the world we live in now? Because I want to focus on the external so that I want to highlight for our listeners, not just for me, but people wired like me, but how do we then begin to see, okay, if that's 7, 8, 9, and that's become a thing for me, how do I begin to identify that so that I can stay focused on that flip to the statement? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think one of the things that happens with this question, when we're living in the question versus the primal truth statement,
Yes,
is that we're taking, again, the things that little Ken figured out how to be successful. What does that look like? And he started creating some beliefs about what success looks like. And so one of the things I always encourage people to do is, with this particular question of am I successful, is you have to look at the metrics of how you measure. Okay. How do you measure your life? Because little Ken measured his life by a scoreboard. Okay. How many runs did he score? What did the score look like at the end of the game? Okay. Again, very natural for a little kid to have that be the metric. But now you're a mature adult, healthy, mature adult. You can set new metrics. But if you never do that work, if you never decide like, okay, how am I going to keep score now? Not that keeping score is bad, but how do you measure your success in what areas? It's like, for example, maybe little Ken thinks, hey, I got to be successful financially. Maybe that's the only metric that matters to him. Like, if I make a lot of money, then I'll be successful. I'm measuring money. Well, we know success is much more than just money. We know success in marriage, success with our kids, success in our relationships. Are we measuring those things too?
Let me hit you with this.
Yeah, go for it.
I think little Ken's success metric was dad's affirmation.
Yeah, very, very good. That's great awareness, Ken. So you have to have kind of an honest conversation with yourself and saying, is dad's affirmation my scoreboard? Is that scoreboard of dad's affirmation serving my life in a positive way? Or is there some other ways that I need to measure success?
That's
My
the answer
guess
the answer is
yeah.
no
Uh-huh.
and yes.
Right.
Because I think then that and people wired like me may have this situation here. I think we then take Dad's affirmation and then I transfer that to everybody else.
Yes.
Fair?
Yes.
That's
So
what it
you
feels
win.
like.
Yes, you win by having people affirm you. That feels like winning to you.
That's success.
Mm-hmm.
Unhealthy success.
Yeah, and again, there's no judgment on that particular framework because that's just a framework that has never been investigated. You put it in place in your early childhood, and you kept working from it till a period of time where you now realize, hey, I don't think affirmation is the best scoreboard.
That's right.
I don't think people liking me is the best scoreboard of success. There might be some other ways to measure.
Yeah, and the reason I'm being vulnerable here is because I like unpacking this. Because remember, we started off, can we get control? So we're going to stay there, folks. We're getting there. I really want you to lock in because I think Mike's got an incredible framework here. So the problem with that being my scoreboard dictating success and defining it is that you can never stop.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always another game, the next interaction, the next show, the next social media post, the next book. What do we have to do here when we go, oh, wait a second, this goes way, way, way back. We were talking about redefining success and I interrupted you. So let's talk about that, redefining success and where we're at. So what do I do in redefining if it was Dad's affirmation and that's now getting transferred to every other poor soul in the world that interacts with me, right? How do we redefine? Walk me through that. What are we redefining?
Well, number one, the definition for everybody for success is going to be different.
That's very true.
So we have to realize that if we're just absorbing society's definitions or my friends' definitions, or we're in this sort of comparison game around success, that's not going to put a blueprint for success that actually works for Ken.
That's right.
And so I would throw back the question to you specifically, Ken, stepping into not your kid logic, but this healthy adult primal truth place, knowing that you are successful. Now, what does success look like for you?
Yeah.
How would you define it? And what are your metrics that you want to own right now and make choices and behaviors that support getting a yes to that kind of success?
So my answers are relational. I have a role in my relational life. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son, brother, friend, and coworker. I think that covers it all. And so am I healthy and am I loving? Am I serving? You know, am I a good friend? Am I a good coworker or teammate? Am I a good son? I think that relational thing is huge.
And how would you measure that? Like, let's put a specific, like, how do I know you're being successful in that? Because as a Q5, am I successful? You have to be able to measure something. That's important to you.
Yes.
You got to be able to measure. It can't be kind of vague.
That's right.
So how would you measure relational success?
Yeah, I've got 3 teenagers. So the way I have to measure the dad thing is, am I providing well? Am I supporting them well? Because their reciprocal is not a good measurement. I don't think you could say that. I really don't. Because I mean, I can be what I consider, man, I was a dad there, and my kid's still just like bad attitude. They're going through a lot of crap, you know, whatever. So I think certainly provision, instruction, like, am I seeing them grow? Am I seeing them honor our family values? You know, I think there's some measurement there. Certainly with Stacy, it is, the measurement is, and you've been married a long time too. We're 25 years, getting ready to go 26 years. I think the measurement there is our communication. If our communication is clear, if it is consistent, and kind, and there's just not tension there, I know that I'm serving her well, her needs in multiple ways. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a measurement. I feel like that's
Excellent. Yeah. And I might even push you further. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, if we really want real change, we really want to break these patterns, we really want to take control of our lives, it comes in the specificity of the action item. So I'd go like with Stacy. Okay, so you want to spend quality time with Stacy and be successful at your marriage and in your relationship with her. And
That's
so
good.
I would go like, well, how much time
That's good.
is required?
Right.
Is that's
better.
Date nights every Wednesday? Is it
Yes.
15-minute check-in in the evening? What does that specifically look like? So you can then put into action
That's good.
that new choice and behavior.
And that's good. This is really good because that's where I should have been able to answer. But we do. Of course, we're flowing, but that needs to be more intentional, where I can look at the scoreboard, is what you're saying. We're going, hey,
Exactly.
You're not just doing date night. You're also spending time at the end of the day listening to her, letting her words get out. So that's good. I really like that. And so to answer the question fully, you can push me wherever you want to go. It's relational success. It is physical success. So now I do have a rhythm now. For the first time in a long time, I'm working out very consistently. I'm working out 5 days a week. I have a very clear plan. Eating really clean. Certainly spiritual success. Reading the Bible all the way through a year, which I haven't done in a long time. And I'm doing that for knowledge and enlightenment, not to say I did it, but it's like, I want to dive deeper. I've joined and I'm not Mr. Group Bible Study. I have eschewed that for a long time. I'm in a men's group every Tuesday morning. It's been life-giving. That's on the spiritual side. And then on the emotional side, doing some work in therapy around a lot of the stuff we're talking about. So I think that is success to me now. The professional success, it's already measured in the world that I'm in anyway, and you got to show, and what are your rankings, and that's always clearly in front of me. But to me, it's more holistic now in those other areas.
Yes. And so what you've done is you've stepped back from this very simplistic kid logic definition of what success looks like, dad's affirmation, or the affirmation of others.
Yeah.
And now you have a working, healthy, positive definition of what success looks like. And now it's all about execution. It's all about action on those priorities. And we're going to measure this way and not that way. And that is just fundamentally going to change how you show up in the world, because you're no longer living in what I call the scramble of trying to get yeses to your primal question of, am I successful?
You just nailed that. And I'm interrupting because it's,
no, please.
But I'm, is part of me getting control, or is it the massive part of getting control? I feel like those other areas I described to you are not affirmation based.
Mm-hmm.
Does that square with you? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
the other,
absolutely.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, I still feel like I have to fight it on a daily basis on the professional side, because it's always in front of you.
Yes. It's core. It's primal. It's primal to who you are.
Yes, and then I'm surrounded by it because I am in a numbers business. I am in a scoreboard world.
Yes, I understand that. Yes.
You actually really do understand that. So is part of me getting control over here in the professional world, my specific world, is very scoreboard heavy. Is the answer to that is I've got to focus on that. Is no longer defining my success. These areas are defining my success, and they're not affirmation based over here. Or am I misguided?
What I'd say on that, and I love that you're bringing this up, because there's still what we would just call the realities of life. Okay, the realities of you being in a business and in a professional world where we score things in a very, systemic, real way. Okay. And the key here, Ken, is you can still be doing the same things or same strategies or same type of work and same excellence that you bring to your professional world. But do you do it from a place of asking the question, or do you do it from a place of knowing that you're already successful? Now, you could be the same activity, but how you start that activity is going to depend on how much you actually enjoy it, how much peace you have around it, how much anxiety you feel or not feel. Because if you're living your life from the question, you basically live at the mercy of however that question is answered.
In that
yes
moment.
or no. In that moment.
Mike, that is huge. That's absolutely incredible. And that's the whole point of the book and all of your research and your work. It's if I'm walking into Ramsey Solutions today and I am asking the question in the parking lot, am I successful? The first scoreboard I see, and it could be different on any given day. And watch this, you know this. Not only am I going to see my scoreboard, but I'm surrounded by other people that have scoreboards.
Yes.
And what if their points are more than my points? And so this is really even just so powerful for me. And so if I'm walking in, you're right. It's whatever scoreboard I get in that moment. And it might be, oh, I am killing it.
Right.
And then 10 minutes later, and I'm not making this up, I could walk out of one meeting and going, I am down the bomb. and another meeting go, oh, oof, wow. That's real.
That's madness, right? It's madness to live that way, to allow our emotions to be dictated differently, depending on whether we're getting a yes or a no.
And there it is. And I have no control if I live that way.
That's exactly right.
And I'm triggered, I'm whatever. Versus if I walk in going in the parking lot, I'm successful. It changes the way that I go about what I'm doing, and it changes the way I see the scoreboard. Yes?
Absolutely. And again, it's not just a mantra. We're not just talking, well, if I just,
it's not a chant.
Self-affirming. It's not a chant. It's a way of doing our life. It's a way of doing a meeting at Ramsey Solutions. It's a way of how we lead other people. It is just this a solid foundation to build our lives upon versus allowing somebody else or some situation or society keep answering our question for us. It's a foundation that we've built that's built on our priorities, our values, our definition of success. And that's how we show up to our day, whether we're with our kids, in our marriage, or at work. Doesn't matter. I am successful.
And there's no specific answer you can give to this. But from your experience in your own life, working with others, instead of me saying, am I successful? I am successful. How long does that take? Because I think even the work I've done up to this point has been helpful, but this has been a real light bulb for me today. And I really, really mean that. What does that transformation look like? How long? What's the daily? It's not a chant, but what is the daily focus?
Yeah. Well, here's the goal. Number one, none of us are going to live exclusively in our primal truth.
Right.
Okay. The goal is to spend less time in your scramble caused by a no to your primal question.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, Ken, but this is lifelong work that we're doing.
100%.
Because this is the power of the early childhood imprint. It is just a part of you, and we embrace it. We're aware of it, but the beauty of the primal question is we're now on to ourselves.
Yes.
It's like there's no more like, why do I do this? Why do I get so upset about this? Why am I so anxious? There's no confusion anymore. It's like this is what's going on. And that empowers you to do something about it. But you'll be working on this the rest of your life.
100%.
And the goal is to spend less of your days in the scramble of what happens when you get a no or a maybe, and more of your days from this kind of grounded, healthy, adult place.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
And I love it. And it was a loaded question. I knew you were going to go that way, but I want the audience to get where my head is at right now, which is what we're talking about does allow me to go from feeling out of control.
Yes.
and now I can retreat to control.
Yeah, I know what's going on here. Oh, I know why I'm so upset.
Yeah.
I know why I was so agitated in that meeting. I know why I'm really concerned about selling more books right now. Whatever it might be, we're like,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
it's hitting a deep need within me to be
Yes.
successful.
Yeah.
And I call it self-leadership in the book, like utilizing self-leadership where we can lead ourselves from this unhealthy place or this place where we self-sabotage our lives to a place where we're actually in control.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the word need, and I'm glad you did, because, early on you talk about the roots in the book, and so the Primal Questions allowed us to get to the root, and we've been modeling this today. So I love that you really are getting to the need. And so to meet the need, so awareness is huge. That's what you've really been talking about. Oh, I see. I get the deal. I know why. And so, but I still got to meet that need in a better way. Because am I successful and looking for evidence all the time? And not only looking for it, good Lord, trying to manufacture evidence for yourself.
Right.
If I'm keeping it real for us threes, that's still not meeting the need properly. So aware of the need is what we've been talking about, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, the healthy way to address the need, and is it back to what you were saying, like setting a different, a more healthy metric system? Is that how we meet the need properly, or should we say healthy?
Yes. For this particular question, it really is about redefining how we keep score. But in terms of the need itself, one of the things that I talk about in the book is that it isn't, when we're living in the question, it's all about some external force needs to meet our need. Okay. I have to get yeses from society. I get from my spouse, from my kids, or other people affirming you. It's like all this external thing that's required to meet my need. One of the nice things about living in our primal truth and knowing that I am successful, this actually allows me to meet my own need. Okay. It allows me to begin the work of saying, okay, I know it. I have this rumbling inside of me, feeling like I'm not successful, but I can come in and say, hold on, no, let's talk about truth. Let's talk about facts, Ken. I'm gonna show you this and this and this data point of saying, see, look, you're very successful. We don't need to ask the question. That need is no longer unmet in you. And then the other part of it is, yes, we do invite our close friends and the people that care about us to also meet that need. So let's go to you and Stacy in your marriage. Okay. Do you want to be in relationship? Does Stacy want to be in relationship with your scramble?
No.
Or does Stacy want to be in relationship with with your primal truth? Just like Ken knows he's successful. He's not living in this sort of reactive way to the question. So what I would say to Stacy, if we were in couples counseling together, let's say I'd go, hey, Stacy, one of the ways that you have a successful relationship with Ken is for you to know how to answer his primal question with a yes. Okay. But also, Stacy, you need to be aware of how you may inadvertently be answering Ken's primal question with a no or a maybe. Now, I know you don't mean to do that, but it probably has happened in your relationship. And you probably have seen Ken get really upset or you guys get into conflict because you were accidentally answering his primal question with a no or a maybe. So then I'd look at you, Ken. I'd say, Ken, how does Stacy answer your primal question with a yes? What could she do? What does that look like in your marriage where she can help meet that need also? And participate with you in it. Now, again, it's not Stacy's responsibility to be the sole meter of that need.
That's right.
Because you're going to do it yourself. You're going to have other people meet it, but you want Stacy to know how to do that. So let's pretend we're in couple. How would Stacy affirm your primal question with a yes?
Well, I'll give you an example of how she does it. She will do this sometimes once a week, sometimes, 3 or 4 times a month. But she'll send me something that she's reading. Could be in scripture or it could be something else. And it's literally like an affirmation. She's just going, hey, I read this and I thought of you and you're doing this. And, and you're crushing it here with our family. She's really good at doing that.
Wonderful.
And so that's a thing where it's like, okay, great. That's huge. I mean, I'm bouncing off the wall on Tigger,
Exactly. Because you're getting a yes to that need.
And I've also realized something. I have organically, because I don't want to say unintentionally, because I think you would immediately go, no, it was intentional. You just didn't realize it. But I spend time, I have close friends that are outside of my world, meaning this author, speaker, public, they're just great dudes, and they got a totally different life. And I hang out with them a lot. And I'm thinking of two guys in particular that are they're really naturally good at affirming me.
Yes. That is not by accident.
No, that's whatsoever. Why that's why I had to call that out. You know what I mean? But I don't remember having a thought like I'm going to go, like I met them. No. There must have been a great, and I'm not trying to unpack all this right now, but they are guys who they really do. I noticed that.
It's all subconscious. It's all, again, we're unaware of it until we become aware of it. And then we go, oh my gosh, it all makes sense now. 100%. Why these people are our friends.
100%.
I would say, with Stacy, the research shows that fundamentally a relationship will not work and will fail if the person in the relationship keeps answering your primal question with a no or a maybe. Whether that's a work relationship, a romantic relationship, a friendship. But the relationships that work best are the ones where that person is naturally answering your primal question with a yes.
Okay. What do you do when you have a family relationship that you cannot distance yourself? There is no boundary. And they're answering the question with a no or a maybe, and it feels like a no in all caps.
Yes.
There's no walk away there.
Absolutely. And listen, the world is not designed to just give us yeses.
That's right. That's why I'm asking the question. So you can get it here, and then all of a sudden, bam.
So what do you do in that moment? What's the self-leadership? Because number one, we're living in the question in that moment, right?
That's right.
We're putting it out there. And yes, we want our closest relationships, if they can, to affirm and answer yes to our primal question. But if they can't, or unwilling, or just continue to answer it with a no, what do we do at that point?
Boy, I love being put on the spot here. It's usually I'm asking the questions.
Well, we talked about it. We talked about
I have to look at
shift.
Yeah, I got to shift to the statement.
The truth. And that should help you kind of anchor you to not being so emotionally reactive in that moment when you feel like you're really getting a big no. But you can then move yourself to self-leadership and say, no, he may disagree, but I know the facts.
Right. And I feel like this has a tremendous, I immediately hearing this, I'm going, there's a lot of people listening right now who have been laid off, fired, passed over for a promotion, maybe confused. And there's a real parallel there. So you have to be able to go, all right, there's evidence and there's statements over here, and maybe some of that's rooted in whatever, right? Because you can fail as a dad, you can fail as a professional, you can fail as a husband. But what you're talking about here is that doesn't mean that you are a failure, or that you can't, because you're the guy who people the second chance. If you're not familiar with Mike's organization, you need to check it out. It'll just warm your heart. But that's where a lot of that comes from. So there's a professional application of this too, because they have evidence that they're not very successful right now. Correct?
That's right. Well, again, how do you measure success? What's your definition of success?
Right.
I can be losing this week, but that doesn't make me a loser.
That's good. That's good.
Because next week I could be winning.
Right.
All right. And it's the same thing like you go to one meeting, you feel successful because the numbers look great. The next meeting you go to, you feel like you're not winning. that's a game. That's an emotional dysregulated game that highs and lows, and we're always going to play that game if we keep living in our question and we keep living from the kid logic of how we define success.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I always like when I'm working with people, I say, let's just look at the facts. Facts are data.
That's right.
We talked about how important data is.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yes, we can see a set of data that says this week, like you got laid off, that, okay, maybe it feels like you're not successful. It feels like you're a failure, like you lost. Okay. Okay. That piece of data, sure. But I got 10 other data sets here from your life that says you're a winner.
Yeah.
So healthy adults, self-leadership says, I bring in all the data before I make some sweeping statement about who I am and whether I'm successful or not.
Wow. This is so good. So back to our initial question for Mike. Is it possible to take control, have control in a world that feels like it's even harder? And the answer is, and you nailed it, yes. But this now allows us, I think, to walk into life and go, wherever I'm searching for this primal need to answer this primal question, I'm looking for it, social media, I'm looking for it, substances, I'm looking for it, whatever it is. It really does allow us to take control of our emotions. And when we take control of our emotions, now we've got massive breakthrough. Is this true?
That's right. Because under all emotions and feelings, there sits an unmet need that drives all emotions and feelings, and all emotions and feelings drive then behaviors. So if you meet the unmet need in a healthy way, you're going to produce different emotions and feelings, which is then going to produce different behaviors. It's that simple. But the thing that we sort of get screwed up in is we focus on behaviors, we focus on feelings. Instead, we should be focusing on the unmet need that is driving everything in our life.
Yeah. Which question are you always dealing with? In other words, what's your primal need of those?
Yeah. Mine's really easy. It's question number one, am I safe? And that's because of my early childhood imprint of abuse.
Yeah.
And so the thing that in order for Mike Foster to show up as his best self every day, whether it's working with clients, speaking, doing workshops, whatever I'm doing, I have to live in the primal truth of I am safe. Okay. Because for me, that is the emotional need that I'm always managing. And listen, I can't look to the world to answer that question.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If I was I have to stay away from the nightly news. Okay. It's just like, I cannot.
I would imagine.
It's nothing but no's on nightly news.
It's awful.
So, but having that awareness has really empowered me to live very differently and not at the mercy of the yeses or nos of continuing to ask that question.
So
and everything I do is defined by the way, Ken, I don't do anything dangerous. I'm not jumping out of airplanes. I think about my physical safety all the time. Also comes a great gift with our primal question. See, what the research shows is that we take our primal question and we put it over everybody else and we assume they're asking the same question. And then we do a really good job at affirming that and answering with a yes. So coming back to you take your primal question of, am I successful? And you are all about helping other people be successful. That's what you think about. That's how you orient to strategies and ideas and people, is like you have a PhD in success because you've been studying it your entire life. I have a PhD in safety because I've been studying it my entire life. It's why people tell me their deepest, darkest secrets after knowing me for 3 minutes, because I'm answering the primal, I'm making them feel safe.
Because you are, to know Mike Foster you're the human blanket.
That's a great, I'm gonna put that on my website. Can I
take it?
Human blanket.
I've known you 20 years. I think that's absolutely true. From your countenance to your cadence, it's mind blowing. It's interesting. I want the audience to get this, folks. our primal question becomes the thing that we put on everybody else. And yet so wild. I have goosebumps right now, Mike, because I was telling somebody recently, and I've said this a million times when I've been a guest on somebody's podcast, that I get as much joy out of helping someone else's light bulb come on as I do something good happening to me. And that is true. And now I understand why. Because I want them to feel this thing that I've been obsessing over, if I'm being honest. Yes?
Absolutely. Our greatest need that we have is the thing that we also give away and want to meet in other people. And so
for you, people of the second chance, play that out.
I want to protect.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that people know that they're going to be okay. I want them to know that they're safe. That is just the filter of how I see everything through my own emotional need of safety. It drives everything. And for you, the filter that you have is, how can I make other people successful? Because I find so much joy in it, and you're really good at it, Ken, too. I mean, that's the thing. This is a gift.
So this is the healthy manifestation of turning the question into a statement. Oh, that's good.
That's exactly right. And the more we live in our scramble, the less gift we give away. But the more that we live in our primal truth, the greater deployment of that gift.
Holy smokes. If you aren't rewinding that and writing that down, you've missed the whole point of this. The thought that hits me right now is, when you tell me this is making any sense, if I occupationally, I'm just using one part of my life. So we're thinking relationally, I'm going to boil it down to two areas, relationally and occupationally. If I were to go into an occupation where the end result was not helping other people be successful, I would be a shell of myself. Yes?
Yes.
So that's really important as we look at purpose and work, is to understand, like, all the stuff that, like, we do. I mean, you've got to understand why, which is, now it's coming to me, Alex, for years, Mike, when people are stuck on the phone, I just stumbled into it, having done it 10,000 times. Who are the people you most want to help? What's the problem they have that you want to solve? What are the solutions to that problem that you get excited about? And that's been a thing that's unlocked people, but now I know why.
Exactly.
I always knew it was heart level. What I did not realize is it was need-based.
Yes, it's your primal gift. And that, again,
wow.
If I want to win at something, I'm calling Ken. Okay. I want to be successful at something, I'm calling Ken, because he can help me. Now, don't call Mike Foster. Okay. Call Mike Foster if you need safety.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is a really powerful thing to think about in terms of our teams and where we put people. Like, I want to maximize that gift in my company, whatever that primal gift I'm being. Each question has a different gift that is being brought to your organization. But like, Ken, you're in the perfect spot. It's like, I want Ken talking to people about how to be successful. Okay. And you write books about it. You do the podcast, the show, like all this stuff is about you helping people be successful. I don't want you being a therapist. Okay. That's my role.
Yeah.
I don't need you to deal with people's deepest, darkest secrets. That's my role.
Right.
Okay.
That's good.
And so it's just a whole new way to appreciate our strengths and gifts, appreciate other people's unique strengths and gifts. Think about, are we utilizing those gifts on our teams? And I think about your parenting style. You parent to your primal question.
Oh, gosh.
You take your primal question and you put it over your kids. Okay?
So true.
That's a great strength. Okay. And Stacy probably has a different question, and she parents to that, but more of that gift given in all the different areas of your life.
Dude, this is great stuff. It's phenomenal. Thanks. I mean, it really is. It's good heavens. So good. So I want to come back to you. So the am I safe, you turn your statement into I am safe.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's right.
How do you take that? And remember, you were saying to me, I needed to create a different, healthier scoreboard. What does it look like for you in the I am safe?
Yeah, it looks a couple different ways. Number one, for me, I've got to know what I need in order to feel safe.
Okay, good.
And for me, like one of the things that helps me feel safe is actually financial resource.
Okay.
So like I get really agitated and into my scramble when the bank accounts are going in the wrong direction or something, and so I've got to be aware of like, okay, financial security helps me feel safe. Okay. The other thing, like in our marriage, my wife, one of the things that I need from people is direct communication, not passive aggressive communication. I need the truth, even if it's bad news, because if I feel like I'm missing, like something is off, something is not right here, I don't feel safe. And so again, knowing how to meet that need is really important for me to not only lead myself, but also ask my wife and my close friends to be aware of that need. But then also showing up, it's like, gosh, I can't do what I do. I can't bring my primal gift if I'm not living in my primal truth. If I'm just wondering if I'm safe, gosh, can I just stay in this room? I wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't get on any stage. I'd just be this little hermit in this little protected cocoon. And like, what a waste of a life.
Yeah.
And so I know that, hey, listen, I want to help people. I want to help people grow and change and thrive. And the way that I do that is I've got to live in my own primal truth. I got to remind myself I'm safe. So now let's go.
Yeah.
Let's take some risks.
Yeah. And you're just helping as many people as possible feel safe.
That's right.
And I'm just curious, digging a little bit here, people the second chance, I've always looked at it and felt like you're about removing shame.
That's right.
Does that then mean you were making people safe to come out of the cave? Say, come on, get back in the game.
Absolutely. It's like coming alongside and telling them, I'll be with them. They can do it. They can do it.
Yeah.
The idea of just reminding people that they're in control of their lives, that they're powerful people. Like that's a part of my messaging because I have experienced it in my own life. I really feel this, I always want to answer yes to the question of, am I safe? And there's millions of people in this world that are asking that question.
Yep.
And I want to affirm that and answer it with yes.
As
with the other 7, by the way, too. Like that's right. That's the work that I'm doing. It's just like, hey, listen, guys, we don't have to ask the question anymore. We don't have to live in the scramble anymore. We can take control of our lives.
I think it's such a valuable message. When you use the word scramble, I think that's got to hit everybody. We all have areas of scramble, and good night. How many of us want to get rid of scramble, and be intentional? Yes. I love it. Okay. I want to end our time with you talking, just give us a snippet of how the assessment works, how they can take it. Now, this is from the book, and we're going to give you all the information. Excuse me. We're going to give you all the information in the show notes and everything. The book is The 7 Primal Questions. And I love the subtitle, Take Control of the Hidden Forces That Drive You. My goodness, it's powerful. Talk about this assessment, how long it takes, what it's going to do for them in light of this conversation we had today.
Yeah, so it's a free assessment that you can take at primalquestion.com. It's primalquestion.com, totally free. It takes about 5 minutes. And it will produce, through answering the questions, it will produce your primal question. You'll get the results. You'll learn a little bit more about how that plays out in your life. There's a little coaching video that is attached to that I do with you, kind of give you the high level explanation of how this works and some of the implications. And so it's really simple. We've had close to 50,000 people take the assessment this year. And it just begins the journey to that self-awareness, right? Yeah. If you want to know, like, okay, what is the hidden forces that's driving me? What's my most important need in my life? This is going to help identify it.
Yeah. Love it. So good. The 7 Primal Questions, Take Control of the Hidden Forces That Drive You. That's the book. I highly recommend it. Take the assessment. Take it. It's free. I don't know why you wouldn't say, I want to get aware and I want to take some control over my life. In a world that's increasingly feeling like we don't have control of a lot, I think that you've proven to us today that we can take control of the thing that matters most, and that's us. I cannot control Ukraine and Russia. I can't control the election. I can't control pandemics. I can't control my own kids. Hello, right? And I think this is such a wonderful reservoir. I want to give you the last word. Be that human blanket for someone who's listening right now and they feel like their life is out of control. What would you say to them if you're having coffee?
Yeah, I just say, number one, your needs are important, so pay attention to them. Those childhood imprints are incredibly powerful. We need to be aware of them. But you are not stuck. You are not, life is not over. Life can be whatever you want to make of it, but it begins by us recognizing the needs that are just driving our emotions and feelings, and the need that is driving our behaviors and choices, and for us to take control of that. And we can do that, and we can live in this really empowered place, which would then will allow our lives to flourish and thrive.
Mike, you're a great dude and you're doing great work. Thanks so much, man. What a fantastic time. Thanks for teaching us, and I know we're all better for it. Thank you, bro.
Thanks, friend.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Make sure that you take advantage of the free assessment. And hey, if this helped you and you think it'll help someone else, give us a like and share it. Thank you. We'll talk to you again soon.